This is the Only in Louisiana podcast with Michelle Southern.
All right, welcome back. It is Only in Louisiana podcast episode 11. Now, and if you are following along in episode order and you heard me tease at the end of the anniversary of Hurricane Ida episode that I was going to do true crime next and that it would be an intriguing story, we are going to save that for later. This week, popping up in the news yet again is a story about the behavior of the widow of Governor Edwin Edwards, who passed away, as it were, 4 months ago today on July 12th. Today is November 12th, the day that this episode is going to be published. Earlier in October, a news story came out in The Advocate in which the children of Governor Edwin Edwards said that they didn't know that Trina was going to exhume the remains of her husband, and they found out over a text message, and they kind of make these accusations against her. Trina responds. And then this week, there's an article that, some news outlets I've noticed are quite frankly not picking up because it's just like, wow, this again. And it's a picture of what they say is a selfie of her in a bathroom and is quote unquote partying it up with the implication that she is not a grieving widow. So Trina today wanted the chance to tell her side of this story. And I'm happy to give Trina this medium for that opportunity. So Trina, tell us what is going on, okay? What is this family feud all about?
Well, I don't even really know if it's a family rift. I've not heard anything from Edwin's children. It's actually someone who is not a family member who is involved with one of the family members. I hate to even say their names, but she just doesn't like me, I guess, for whatever reason. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty likable, but not everybody likes everybody. And honestly, I almost feel sorry for her. She clearly has some type of mental issue or something.
Edwin Edwards, your late husband, passed away in July. Yeah. And is that I know that it began kind of before that, but your first big, front page headline after you did the interview with Jim Minkster was with regards to the exhumation of Edwin's remains. And that was just this huge blow up. Do you mind talking a little bit about what went on there?
No, not at all. I was completely caught off guard with that because honestly, I had no idea there were going to be any issues with me having him cremated. They had their mother cremated. So I honestly don't think it is the fact that I had him cremated. I don't know if it's just that I didn't consult with them or that I didn't ask their permission, which, look, I get it. And if his children feel a certain way about it, they have every right to feel that way. But I honestly think that it is this other person who is just kind of like pushing it and egging it on. So anyway, I did let them know that Edwin was going to be cremated. When I buried him, everyone knew that it was temporary. Originally, he had a burial plot that I was going to put him in that we had always talked about beforehand. And the day before the funeral, when I was there making the arrangements, or actually they came to my house and told me that I would have to go in front of a judge to be able to bury him in the plot that he had bought for himself because his ex-wife was refusing to sign paperwork to allow it. And what the funeral home told me was that she said she recognized that she had no legal right, but she was not going to make it easy for me. So I was there. I was faced with having to make a last-minute decision on a very, very hard day. And I knew it was going to be temporary. So I just said, just pick a place and put him there. Well, after I did that, I was so miserable and unhappy with it. I would go out to the cemetery and I could not make myself walk out to the grave. I struggled with it every single day. And then I just felt this strong desire to have him brought home. Eventually, I plan to put him somewhere permanently. There, I know you saw in the paper probably that they are working on putting a cemetery for former governors.
Yes.
At the Capitol.
Yes.
Which is what the plan always was to eventually try to have him move there. But I just couldn't stand it. So I wanted to bring him home until it was time for that. All of this nonsense about, I don't want people to be able to visit him. That's just completely insane. He's going to go in one of the most, hopefully, public places in Louisiana. So that's just, it doesn't even make sense. It's all a lie. To say that he was a Christian and belonged to this group of Christians who believe that cremated people don't go to heaven is insane to me. Edwin was pretty vocal about not being a Christian. I know people don't like to hear that and they don't want to hear that, but that's a fact, and his children are very well aware of that. So why they would even say that, I don't know, other than just to try to make me look bad. But I don't have any guilt about it. I don't even know what else to say about it. I have no guilt. I feel so much better now that he's at home. And I hate that they feel that way, and I hate that they're uncomfortable with it if they are, in fact, uncomfortable with it. But at the same time, another thing that I hate to even say, but they weren't here. They didn't visit. He had one daughter who would come and visit every 2 or 3 weeks for an hour maybe. The rest of them didn't even come by. They didn't really talk to him. They didn't help care for him. Never were they not allowed, because that's another thing that's being said. They were not allowed to come here. They did come here very rarely, but they came. When he was on his deathbed, we all knew he was dying. We knew it was going to happen any day. They chose not to be here with him. They made that choice to not be here. The day he was buried, only 2 of them showed up to the gravesite. They didn't bother to attend his private burial. They say that I didn't allow them to have seats at the funeral. That's nonsense. First of all, I was not in charge of the seating. Second of all, it was told to me afterwards by members of the legislature I was working closely with, and by the staff from the funeral home and the staff from the old state capitol, that they tried to get them to come in and sit down, and they wouldn't do it. They just weren't going to be told what to do. So when it was time for everybody else to come in, they were nowhere to be found. None of that is my fault. I regret that it happened, because obviously they have hurt feelings over it, and I would never intentionally want to hurt anyone, but especially not my husband's children, no matter what they do to me. But what they're saying is there's no truth to it.
Do you know why his ex-wife would not sign off on the burial plot?
I do not, except for that I think that maybe she has hurt feelings, because she did ask when he was still lucid if she could come by and see him, and he said he didn't want to see her. And I think that hurt her feelings. That's the only thing I can imagine, because I can't imagine that anybody would just be hateful like that for no reason.
And if she would claim that you refused to let her see Edwin, that's not true, you're saying?
That is 100% not true. In fact, I was not the one who asked him. Someone else who was in the legislature came and asked the 2 of us, and he said he didn't want to see her.
Okay.
Which is, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, she's been remarried twice since him. He hasn't had anything to do with her. They haven't spoken. They haven't seen each other since long before he got out of prison. They had no children together. If you're on your deathbed, do you want to see an ex that you had that you don't have anything you don't have anything in common with anymore, and that you don't speak to? He was with family and friends. She didn't fit into that. It's not anything personal. If my ex-husband was on his deathbed, I don't know that I would ask him to come and see him. And if he said no, I certainly would respect that.
I imagine that when Edwin got out of prison and you 2 got together, and the age difference being what it was, that she was not happy.
She definitely was not happy. And you know what? I felt at that point in her life, I think she was going through a hard time. And I really did feel bad about that for her, because I'm just a very empathetic person. And I know how I would feel and how bad it would have to suck if I'm going through a hard time and then he comes out and great things are happening. I would probably not like me too. I think that's human nature, and I hold no animosity towards her at all about that. I really don't. I can completely understand how that would have felt for her, But I never did anything to her.
And her behavior
I didn't.
was, one might call
It was not kind.
Correct.
It was unkind.
Yeah. And I know that you and I talked about that privately. I just wanted to kind of get a clearer picture of the motivation behind all of this, because you read an article like that, the one by Tyler Bridges and Mark Ballard, Victoria said that you are doing all of this because you've lost your 15 minutes of fame and desperately want to get it back.
But yet I didn't call the paper.
I was about to say, it seems like they're the one keeping you in the news, right?
Exactly. If they would stop talking about me, then no one would care.
So let's talk about the latest. The picture of you taking a selfie in the mirror.
Which wasn't a selfie, by the way. Another friend of mine took it.
Okay. You look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. Did you notice I was still wearing my wedding ring since people say that I'm not grieving?
Yes. I noticed in another photo that you do still wear your wedding ring. And, we're not mentioning this individual's name, but you did, she's indicating that you were not a grieving widow and that you were not keeping it classy, but you responded to her on Facebook. Do you mind telling us, your response to that allegation?
Well, first, let me tell you where I was. Not that it matters, because
it does matter.
I feel like I'm at a stage in my life where if I wanted to be in bars or, dating or out with men, I don't see any problem with that. I think I'm well within my rights to do that. But I was at a function 2 miles from my house for a local business with a group of girlfriends. So I wasn't out partying. For people to think I'm supposed to not leave my house or not do anything enjoyable is absurd to me. I don't understand that at all. I basically said, and this is the way I feel, that my husband died. I didn't. I have to go on with life. I have a small child that I have to live for. I mean, I'm alive. I refuse to just lay down and die because he did. I'm going to go out. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to live my life in exactly how I want to live it, and I'm going to have a good time. That's what he would want me to do. If the tables were turned, that's what I would want him to do. They're saying all these comments that are just so unreasonable on their Facebook pages, talking about how he and Elaine are together again, and she was the real love of his life, and he was miserable with me, and now they're rejoicing in heaven. And you know what? While I feel very comfortable that he was very happy with me, I hope that he is up there. I hope that Elaine is up there. I hope his parents are up there. I hope his siblings are up there. I hope everybody he's ever loved is up there, and they are having the most amazing time, because that's what I want for him, and that's exactly what he would want for me here.
Y'all all did the reality show together, and, for a time there, everyone was just getting along.
It's this one specific person. Before she came along, I got along great with his kids. There was not a day in my life that I did not talk to both Stephen and Anna. Every day. We worked together. I was close to them.
Yeah.
We spent holidays together. We had no problems. We didn't fight. We didn't argue. It is this one person who has come in and done everything she could to divide and conquer. And that's exactly what she did. When my husband was alive, he wouldn't speak to her. And I'm going to tell you, I've never known him to dislike somebody to the point that he wouldn't have anything at all to do with them. He didn't want her around. He wouldn't let her. They get upset about the whole funeral thing and saying, I didn't honor his wishes. I honored his wishes exactly. He wrote before he died that he felt so strongly about it, he did not want this individual to be permitted to come to his funeral. And people I don't think understood it until after, and they saw what she's doing, because she's been doing this for years. Before he died, she was doing this. So this is not new, but once he died, there was nothing left to stop her.
Because she started getting a lot of attention after he died.
She did. For a very brief time, but I think that the more she spoke, the more people realized that there's something deeper going on there. Like I almost can't be mad at her. I have to feel for her, because clearly there's some type of mental issue, and I almost feel like I can't even fight back, because it's like I'm picking on someone who
Yeah.
is not on the same level. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear on that one. And you say that it's been going on for years.
I have a file folder 5 inches thick of nasty text messages and emails of her threatening me and calling me names and telling me how she's going to destroy me. She can't, obviously. She cannot do anything to me that I don't allow her to do. But she has definitely harassed and tortured me for the last 4 years.
Is it a money thing? What is her deal?
Well, contrary to what people think, I don't have a lot of money, so I don't think it's that. Even though I have been told that one of his children is intending to contest the will. But look, the fact is, I'm going to say this openly, which maybe I shouldn't say. My husband didn't leave me anything. He left his entire estate to our minor child, which is appropriate, which is exactly what he should have done. So if people think that I got millions of dollars and I can just go and do, it's just not the case. It's not the case. And I don't think it has anything to do with money. Honestly, I think it's jealousy and insecurity and just not, wanting to have your way and wanting to have control over a situation and not having it. Which again, I can, there's something inside me that can kind of understand it. I don't understand the meanness behind it, but I understand the frustration when something is not going your way and no matter what you do, you can't seem to get what you're trying to get.
Yeah.
But again, that isn't me. It's not my problem. I'm not going to do what somebody tells me to do because they're telling me to do it. I'm not going to just sit back and let somebody torture me to the point that I'm miserable every day, because at first I was letting that really get to me. It hurt me to see some of the things that they were saying. It hurt me to see them saying that my husband didn't love me.
Yeah.
When even though I know that that's true, people can say whatever they want about me, but and I can even see how you can say something to make someone believe that I didn't love my husband, which I did, but it doesn't even make sense. You're telling me on one hand that I have gone and basically taken advantage of this old man, but he doesn't love me. Anybody can see that he loved me. He didn't have to stay here. I couldn't have held him hostage if I wanted to. He's Edwin Edwards. He does what he wants. You know what I mean?
Right.
If he wants to be here, that's where he's going to be. And if he doesn't, he's not. But, they've said that I abused him physically. They have said that I had him cremated to conceal evidence of something that I had done to harm him, which I would have had him cremated the day he died if that was the case. That I held him hostage and wouldn't allow people to see him. You know as well as I know, he was out all over the place all the time until he got sick.
Yeah. Yeah. He tried to run for office again.
Yes. I mean, he did exactly what he wanted to do. And he lived his life exactly how he wanted to live it. And I think we should all take something away from that. And I definitely have. And I'm gonna live my life. I wish he was still here. If I could bring him back, I would. No question. Even if I could bring him back, even when he was ill and it was hard on me, I would do that. I wouldn't even consider not doing it, but I can't. He is gone. He is not coming back. He's gone. What good is it going to do me to sit around every day and cry about it? And there are days that I sit around and cry. For the last 2 weeks, up until this week, for the last 2 weeks, I spent 2 weeks just barely being able to function. But that's not something you can do long term. I can't. For my own mental health, for my child. I mean, I'm not going to waste my life.
All right, you're 43.
I'm 43. I have a lot to offer someone. I want to fall in love. I want to have a happy life. I don't want to be a miserable, lonely person, and I don't want anyone else to be a miserable, lonely person. I don't want this person that's giving me all this problem. I don't want her to be miserable or unhappy. I don't want his children to be miserable, unhappy. I don't want you to be miserably unhappy. I don't want that for anyone. And I think there's something wrong in someone's brain if that is what they choose to do with their life, is to just spend all of their time and energy trying to torture and make someone unhappy and miserable. My brain does not understand that.
And the last time we spoke, Trina, you indicated that this was when Edwin was confined to a wheelchair and you were taking care of him. It doesn't seem like you would take care of somebody who needed that much help if you didn't want to, or if you didn't actually care about them. And he was the father of your son.
Yeah. And, that's another thing. People say, I've seen people say, and them say that, I wanted him, I was ready for him to die. I was over it. I had married this old man and I was sitting around waiting for him to die. And I was doing it because I married him. He had a lot of money. Well, if that was the case, why wouldn't I have put him somewhere? Why wouldn't I have hired someone to come in here and take care of him? I didn't. I never hired anybody, with the exception of one lady who would come and sit when I would have to go somewhere after he got to where he couldn't stay by himself anymore, and hospice and home health. Other than that, I did it by myself. His children never came over here and sat with him. And look, I didn't ask them to, and I didn't need them to, and it's fine that they didn't. But I don't really appreciate them saying that I was abusing him, because if I was, and you knew I was abusing your elderly father who couldn't get out of bed, why weren't you here? Why didn't you call the police? Why weren't you? If it was my mother that was in the same situation and I thought someone wasn't taking care of her, or I thought she was being abused and I cared, I would be here every day making sure she wasn't.
Well, and Trina, I've seen the links that have been posted by news outlets on Facebook and social media. It seems like a lot of people are, I hate to say on your side, but you seem to have a lot of love there.
I've had overwhelming support, which I am so grateful for. It's so comforting. It's bad enough that when I start to feel bad and I start to get really upset, and then I see that people really are coming to my defense and say, leave her alone. She did what she's supposed to do and she isn't doing anything wrong. It gives me so much comfort. And I just want everyone to know how much I truly do appreciate that. And they will never know emotionally and mentally how that has really saved me. And it honestly has. It has, my friends and my family, but also the support I get from total strangers has saved me emotionally. I do not know where I would be without that.
It seems obvious to me, into the public perhaps, that, Edwin has passed away and it's time for you to move on.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to take his memory with me, but I've got places to go. I love him and I miss him, but I have to live. I have to go on with life. And I do. I have to move on. I have no choice.
What's next? Are you comfortable saying, now, this individual perhaps will listen to this podcast episode?
She will. Both 2 seconds after I post something, they know about it.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems, it's very unfortunate, but you're the first person, it seems, that would say that, because, Edwin is so beloved by so many in our state. He definitely loved Louisiana. And
he did. And he deserves all the love he got back in return.
It just seems unfortunate that this has dominated the headlines since he's passed, for sure.
It breaks my heart. And, I would think that his children would care more about him than to sit back and allow for this to be what is happening after he's gone. I would think that they would want, to be respectful and kind like I do. I mean, I could say a lot, but why? I mean, I feel like I've probably said more than I wanted to. I just don't have the desire to do that. Can we focus on all the great things he did and the amazing person that he was? And forget about me. I don't even know why I'm newsworthy at this point. He's gone. So why am I even newsworthy anymore? I shouldn't be. People keep saying, I wish she would just go away. Believe me, I wish y'all would let me go away. If it wasn't for them, I still would not be getting this kind of attention. So if what they really want is for me to go away and not get attention, the best things they can do is ignore me and let me go away, because I am very happy to do that. I am very happy to go and live a nice, quiet, private life.
It sounds like, I remember Ben Affleck said this at one point when him and J-Lo were having drama years and years ago. Like, aren't y'all sick of me? I'm sick of me. Like, I'm sick of me. You know?
It's true. It's true.
All right, Trina. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add before we go?
Well, I do want to say this one last thing. I have no hard feelings against anyone, not even the people who are mistreating me. I honestly, truly don't. I hope that they find happiness and find the kind of love that I experienced during the last 10 years, because I have never been loved more or deeper in my life. And I don't know that I will ever be able to find that again. I hope that I do. I want to, but I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I miss my husband and I love him, but I am going to move on with my life. And I really hope the same for all of them as well. I wish them all the best. And I have no hard feelings. I will not allow what anybody does or says drag me down. And I hope that they find happiness, and I hope that they find whatever it is that will make them happy and cause them to be able to go and lead their own lives.
Because only in Louisiana